Happy New Year. It's a new year, 2025. There's going to be new cameras coming out. And I want to talk about some of the camera features that I'm looking forward to the most and hope that come to cameras this year. Now, I'm going to keep this realistic. I'm not going to go for crazy, like every camera is going to have a global shutter and be under $2,000 or something silly. I'm going to keep it somewhat realistic. I'm going to start with a bunch of realistic options that manufacturers should take this year. And I'm going to get into some of the more harder, more unlikely features, but I would still love to see them in cameras this year. So with that, here are the 5 features that I want to see implemented into cameras in the year 2025. And the first feature I want to see in cameras this year is actually a feature that we've had before. It's GPS. It's kind of gone away and fizzled out of the modern generation of cameras when it used to be in some of the flagship cameras of the past. Now, I want GPS in cameras for 2 reasons. Now, the first reason is obviously it'd be nice to see location data in your photos. For 90% of my photos, I know where I am. Like, I don't need the GPS. But it's that other like 10% where you're on a hike and you don't know where along the hike you are. It'd be nice to have that GPS pin to know if I ever want to do that hike again and I want to get a similar photo, here's where I took it. That's the obvious benefit of having GPS that everyone loves. The second benefit of GPS is if you've ever shot an event or anything with 2 cameras, even like if you share your photos from your camera to like a group album on Google Photos or something, and it ranks it all by time. If you've ever done that before, you probably would have noticed at some point that your internal time of your camera will drift over time. So if you set it when you first unbox your camera, over time, it's going to become more and more inaccurate. It's the nature of not having a battery in it 24/7, turning it on, turning it off. It's just bound to happen. So you get to Lightroom or you share your photos with your friends and it's all out of order and it's really annoying. And there are ways to fix this in Lightroom. It's just a bit annoying, or you can manually set the time exactly right before the shoot every time. But the benefit of having GPS on a camera is GPS has super accurate time on board in the satellite. And that gets beamed down to your camera as well as the location data. So that means that in theory, you could have a setting where your camera will maybe only ping to GPS once a week just to update the clock to make sure that we're right on time, nice and accurate. Or you can manually turn it on so that every photo you take is synced up so that you've got location data all the time. And that's the way I would like to see GPS implemented into a camera, because one of the biggest downsides and reasons it probably went away is battery drain. Like, connecting to satellites and keeping that connection is gonna drain your battery. There's no way around it. But like, obviously you used to be able to selectively, turn it on, turn it off. But I would love to see some smarter features where you can set it to just update the time every so often. That would be awesome. Or time servers and better Wi-Fi, but I don't trust camera manufacturers to be able to do that. So GPS, please. And the second really realistic option that I would love to see implemented into cameras is fun JPEG modes. Obviously, Fujifilm's film simulations are super popular. They're super awesome. It's nice being able to have really good looking JPEGs straight away, whether like if it's, something you don't want to edit, or you want to give the camera to a friend and then quickly just send the photos through the app straight to your friends and have them look great without having to, like looking at the image and going, oh, I want to edit that, but like I can't because like I just want to share it straight away. Fun JPEG modes like that, I really want to see back. Well, not back. I would just want to see them in most cameras. So obviously Fuji's got it sort of down pat. Lumix is starting to get it with that controversial camera, the S9 or whatever. I'm sure it's on some of their more flagships via updates. I would like to see more fun JPEG modes like that. And even like double exposures and other fun features like that. I would love to see them. Like, I'm not going to use it professionally, but I'd like to have it on my camera so that when I'm not using it professionally, like I can have a bit more fun. I think that is like it's such a missing feature from all the current lineup that could be easily added, and there's enough processing power in these cameras. And now the third feature that I'd like to see is internal SSDs. I think Hasselblad has already done this, where they have a 1 TB memory chip already in the camera. Like, that is awesome. Like, don't get rid of the SD cards, don't get me wrong. Like, the memory chip that you can put inside of a camera or inside of like even like an actual SSD or the CF Express cards are infinitely better than what you get on an SD card or even a CF Express. So putting that into the camera gives you, you don't have to carry an SD card if you don't want to, which like professionals are still going to, because then you get backups. You get way faster read writes because you can design it to be like right in there, nice and close to the SoC. So that means your readouts are faster, your buffer's faster. It just opens up so much opportunity, not only for the technical side for the camera manufacturers, but it's also just nice to have, you can never forget an SD card and be unable to shoot. Or, if it allows you to shoot higher frame rate video or, higher bitrate video, that's always a benefit. Like, I think that is definitely a feature that should be added. It's just getting people to get over that hump of they're so used to taking out an SD card and chucking it in their computer as opposed to plugging in their camera to their computer. I think it's long overdue and it should be available in cameras, but don't take away the SD card or CF Express to do it. And now for these last two, I'm going to get into a bit more speculatory / I really would love to see this territory. For the first one, I think we could see it. The second one, maybe not so. So the first one that I want to see is smarter AP. So like, on your dial at the top, you got aperture priority, you've got program, auto, you've got shutter priority, and then you've got manual. I would love to see some smarter auto modes. So like, for example, if you've got it in shutter priority mode, I would love for it to be like almost like a dynamic shutter priority mode where you could have it set to 1/2000th of a second, because obviously you want to freeze the motion. But if you're suddenly panning the camera really, really fast, it can detect, because they've got accelerometers in there. They can tell you if you're level or not. They can detect that and adjust accordingly to make sure that you're still getting, you're still freezing the action. That kind of thing would be really cool to see. Or like, almost like an aperture priority where you've got it on like, let's say 1.4, and another person steps in the frame and it realizes it. So it goes, oh, actually, let's just pull it back a little. Let's go to F4 and make sure both of them are in focus. That kind of smarter intelligence, now that there's like AI focusing chips and stuff, like it can recognize what's on the screen. So I think that kind of features would be very handy to have. In that same vein, like a program auto, which is like meant to be like you can change all the settings, but we'll hold your hand so that you can't stuff it up. That would be perfect with all that AI stuff in there, like, detecting, are we getting the right shallow depth of field that we want? Oh, we're moving a bunch right now, like the camera's moving a bunch, or even like, you've got the camera locked off on a tripod. There's a bloody car moving past really quick and like it decides whether, like, this could either be really bad or really great depending on how it's implemented. But like, really fast car goes through and you just want to like, it just auto detects that, changes the shutter speed so that you freeze the moment and brrr, I don't know. I think that is on the edge of realistic. You definitely could get some easier features in there, but it just depends how it's implemented. If it's implemented terribly, no one will ever trust it again. If it's implemented like properly, I think people will love it. And I think in that same vein, 2025 will be the year that we see any form of computational photography. Sensor readouts nowadays are getting so fast that I think it is now beginning to be possible, whether it's in an APS-C camera or maybe even a full frame camera. We're going to start to see, JPEGs that have 3 or 4 photos stitched together to expose for the highlights, the midtones, the shadows, and stitched together intelligently. Or in low light, you know, being able to use the gyroscope and stacking a bunch of frames and freezing the motion. I think this is the year that it's going to happen. And I don't think it's going to be pretty. I think it's going to be on the highest of highest end cameras. It's going to be finicky, but it's coming, I reckon. It's been a long enough time for them to catch up to the smartphone manufacturers, and everything is kind of stacking together. You know, global shutters, sensor readouts, higher processing, AI. I think this is the year that's going to happen. But let me know what you think in the comments down below, because that's all I've really got. That's my 5, hopefully, features that will be in cameras in 2025. Let me know what you think. What am I wrong about? What am I right about? Would you like to add anything to my features? Let me know. And for 2025, I've got a bunch more coming. So if you stuck around for this long, maybe hit a subscribe. I've got a tripod I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk philosophical about prime lenses and all that. It's going to be a year. Anyway, I'll catch you then.